So, what's quite frustrating as well, not frustrating, but an interesting point to raise is obviously a lot of people are saying that Anjin, but if he has 10 bad games, right, he's gone and we got to change manager, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. But are we not in danger as well of falling into maybe the trap of what United are falling in terms of if let's say we make a change to Frank and we know he's a project manager, he's very much a manager who might need time to bed in or whatever to implement. And let's say he has a start like Nuno has. We're kind of forced to stick with it, aren't we? We're kind of forced to see it out because we've just changed it. And it's like we can't change it very, very quickly, even though when it's not working immediately. But then but because we just won a trophy, I think fans are not in the mood for another patient rebuild. They want to kind of build on that trophy win and see if we can lead us to more success. So are people kind of missing that element as well, in the sense that there is a good chance that if we replace the manager, a lot of managers do need time here. And it's not going to immediately just hit the ground running. But if he doesn't, we're forced to stick with that, aren't we?
Well, it kind of goes back to what Jim said, which was a little bit of wishful thinking, where he talks about just make a decision, go with it, and we'll all get behind it. This fan base is not going to get behind whatever decision you make. Not a chance in hell. If they keep Ange, you're going to go to next season with fans wanting him to fail because it means he gets sacked. I guarantee there's going to be a significant number of fans that are going to want him to fail. If he is sacked and a new manager comes in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be an element of fans that say, sod this. And they're going to toe the line with what you said, Sim. Here we go. Another project, another rebuild. We were told that this was the project, and we were told that Levy had made mistakes in the past, and those mistakes no longer exist. We've got Munn, we've got Land, we've got Ange. This is the new project. Lies. It was all lies. Here we go again. So whatever happens, there's going to be a split in the fan base. The only way I think you get all the fans on board, or a lot more than any other way, and the only way that you give Ange a genuine opportunity to prove that he can be more adaptable and get better results consistently in the league whilst juggling Europe and domestic cups, or even the next manager, the same will apply, is go and sign some quality players so this squad has got every chance it has. And that is out of the manager's hands. We desperately need a quality defensive mid. We desperately need a prolific goal scorer, or at least two flamboyant, exciting, wide attackers that get you goals. We desperately need another creative option when Maddison's injured. And we probably need another good quality defender. Whether it's a centre-back or wing-back, I don't know, but we probably need one. Go and get those 4 really good players, and we're not talking about these random names we've not heard of. Go and get an Eze. Go and get an Mbeumo, and Mitoma. Go and get names that we know. Paulinho, who isn't really playing for Bayern Munich, who we know is a proven defensive mid when he was at Fulham in the Premier League. Go and get these players, and I think you'll have a fan base that says, do you know what? All right, come on then, Ange. Show us what you've got. You've got some players now. And I think fans will give it some time. Or even if the new manager comes in, if he's given those players, they'll say, do you know what? I'm actually quite excited by this. We've got a manager that isn't too bad, and he's got some good players as well. The transfer window for me will be the decider of where fans position themselves next season. Otherwise, Jim, Brian, Sim, audience, it's going to be divided as soon as the first whistle blows for the new season. We're going to be where we've always been as Spurs fans. That's what I predict will happen with it, guys.
I think the other thing, just to add to that, what Stel says, well, especially when it comes to the transfer window, is this is where more uncertainty is being held. Is Paratici coming in? Is this court case in Milan or in Italy going to drag on and delay that? Because I honestly think if you turn around and say, right, Ange is staying and it's working with Fabio Paratici and he'll be bringing in the players, I think we'll have a lot more confidence that he's going to bring in players that are capable to assist Ange and be able to battle on 4 fronts, or at least better. If it's another manager, is it Paratici that's going to be spearheading the recruitment? Because I would feel a lot more. I think we'd all feel a lot more comfortable knowing that it is Paratici spending the money and not not and with Vinay rather than Mullen Lange. It's not been good enough. And as I said when I was speaking to you yesterday, Simon, and it harbours onto what both Jim and Stell were saying about recruitment. I said it to you yesterday. We keep building for every season we build the team for tomorrow. 2 years' time, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. Look at us go. Every time whilst we're doing this and building the team for tomorrow, our rivals are building the team for today. They're not worried about 2 years down the line. They're like, right, how do we improve this season? We need to do this, this, and this. Whereas we go, oh yeah, wait a minute, in 2 years' time, these players will come through. We've got to start building for today and not for tomorrow.
I think that's it's fair. It's like one of those things where I feel like we always try to take the sensible option of let's have a 5-year plan here. But so much changes in football so quickly, you do need to have an element of, well, what's my one? And I've got to get the balance right. It can't be a 5-year plan. It's got to be, you've got to plan for the future. Otherwise you get these club grown and homegrown issues and everything else. But you do need a little bit of also, what can we do to maximize our opportunity to potentially win a trophy on the side during that process, not when we get to the end of it necessarily. Because what we always find is something changes, be that a state buying a football club, a new financial regulation, a player at another club just turning world class and leapfrogging us. All these variables keep happening. Oh, no, my camera's just over here. There. I'll be back in a sec on the screen. Yeah, I'll just switch camera. But yeah, we need to do a little bit more of now work, I think, moving forward.
Which is what we see a lot of right now with United signing Cunha and Mbeumo. They're not waiting around. You see Chelsea getting Delap, and they're in talks with Mike Maignan at the moment. City are reinforcing with what's his name, Ryan Cherky, and who else did they sign? Other players. Arsenal getting Zubamendi. They're in talks with Sesko or Gyökeres. Every single club seems to be making serious moves, not for the future, for right now. Players that can immediately improve their first team, and yet not only we're not making any signings at the moment, but the ones we're most heavily linked with is Tell, who. Look, I'm a fan of Tell. I think he could be a good player, but nothing to suggest he's going to be as good as right now next season. He's going to hit the ground running. Tyler Dibling's one heavily linked again, another 18-year-old who's obviously again talented, but we need more players like an Mbeumo and a Cunha who was proven can come in and really do the job. Obviously, I think everyone's clamoring for Eze. He's one who I think if we don't get Eze through in signing this season, I mean, if you look at players not at top 6 clubs in the Premier League who we really believe can improve us in these especially offensive positions, they really are drying up, aren't they? And there's Eze, who else is there really? Maybe Wissa, you're thinking. Obviously got a lot of goals, but I mean, one of the appeals of getting Frank was maybe he could bring Mbeumo with him, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
We do have a challenge. Oh, sorry, Stel, you go, mate. I think you're about to say something.
No, I was just going to say, whenever we ever hired a manager and he's actually brought a player from the club he came from.
Yeah, it's a good point. Can't think of too many. Go on, Jim.
It is a challenge though for us as well. I feel like where Spurs are in the pecking order is such an awkward spot to be. You're more powerful and bigger than your generic mid-table club. You've grown ahead of an Aston Villa. You've grown ahead of an Everton and all those clubs that are around us. How many years ago? But we're not. But equally, we know we're not as strong as a Man City or a Liverpool to compete with them. Reputation-wise or revenue-wise. So when we go to, I think when you're this is why I think the manager's talent ID doesn't transfer well from a Barcelona or a Real Madrid to a Spurs, is because it's very different when you go, right, I need a number 6. Who are the best 3 6s in the world? Any of those not already playing for Madrid? Yeah, I'll have that one. Thanks, done. Even if I fart in their direction, they will hand in a transfer request to meet with me. Because I am Real Madrid, Liverpool, Man City. When it's Spurs, it's kind of like my agent's just going to quickly check in with Liverpool, Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG. If they don't want me and they're sure, and they might even ask me to hang around for a year just to check, yeah, I'll come to you guys. And you could argue that is because we've built a reputation ourselves, or you could argue that it's just where we are in a pecking order, whatever it is, that's your personal view. But it does make building a squad for the now. You have to think and be a little bit smarter as Spurs, because when you look as well, I think we all know we've got an opportunity to turn what many perceive as a negative into a positive. And that is our wage bill being low versus revenue. Well, that says great opportunity now, especially if we are, and rumors are true, Son or Romero ends up leaving. Even more room, you've got opportunity to raise that wage bill by 10 to 15%. Let's build on that. Let's use that. What an opportunity we have to add more players to our roster that other clubs can't fit in, which is great. But also, you can't look too much at the wages in the sense that our highest earner, I think, was Timo Werner, and our lowest earner was Lucas Berryvale last season. So you can get the gems, but I don't think you should become overly fixated on the gems. So I think you've got to find that balance this year of like, yeah, can we get 2 or 3 Solanke level players that you have to overpay for them a bit, but let's continue that, trying to find a Berryvale, trying to find an Archie Gray in the background, but just don't go anywhere near as extreme as we did last year, where we ended up with 4 of one and 1 of the other.
Jim, can I ask you a question on this, right? When we say, keep looking for these young kids and, we've got to be a bit smarter than the other clubs. When I hear this conversation, I ask myself, what was the point of building this £1 billion stadium? What was the point of it if we're not going to start just focusing on experience, proven quality, if we're still going to try and behave how we did pre-stadium build?
Well, the stadium build, my understanding, was to be able to improve total expenditure for the football club and drive the football club into a more powerful and successful position. That was what the line we were sold. It was the revenue from this is going to translate into the ability to spend more money on footballers. And the net total spend has risen. Is it up to about 120 million net per season? I think it's the average since it's opened, and it was significantly lower before. But I believe it's also an opportunity to say, when you come look around Tottenham or you look at Tottenham on TV, they're not a mid-table Premier League club represented by a chicken. They are the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. Look at the gravitas of this football club. You can come here and you can win things at this club too. Like that. That's how I kind of hoped it would also translate. So I think you have to be more ambitious.
Better players. We were signing better players before the new stadium.
Was it from better? Sorry. So give me an example of what you mean, like of a player pre-stadium, like a Rafael van der Vaart type, you mean, or
Eriksen, van der Vaart, Dembele,
Vertonghen, those kind of guys. But my understanding then, they were players
Berbatov.
Berbatov and other. But those weren't players, I think, that were top of the tree, really established, smashing it, were they? They were very well scouted footballers in most of those cases from different leagues. Like Modric was playing in Croatia, Vertonghen was playing in the Eredivisie, Dembele was Fulham, wasn't he?
We're trying to do the same thing now, aren't we? We're trying to find really good players below the radar. For example, your Van der Vens, your Lucas Bergvalls. I just don't see how this new stadium has resulted in us behaving differently. Yes, we're spending more money, but the way we spend it is no different.
Well,
we're not pushing the boat out there where we're saying, you know what, we will go and sign that player from that 7th place team in the Premier League, or we will go and sign that player from a top 4 club in the Premier League who's on the bench, because we've now got the money to do it. I don't think we're utilising this stadium to its true capability in the transfer market.
Well, we're absolutely not. No, I'm fully with you. I think 2 things have happened simultaneously in the 2 or 3 years building up to the stadium and since it's opened. Well, actually, just using the stadium's opened onwards, I think our spending's gone up and our recruitment has nosedived in terms of quality.
Right.
So I think we're like most of us would all say, like you can't hide from the numbers. Spurs are spending the more money since it opened. Whether that's enough or whatever, I think that's a whole nother pod or episode for us to dive into, because there's so many ways you can look at that. But the quality we've obtained on average is infinitely worse. And if you track back to actually when it started to go downhill, I was thinking back, when did it? Because when Poch's first year and before, and the 3 years before, we signed Lloris, Dembele, Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Son, Dele Alli, Moussa Dembele, and Harry Kane came through our academy. That was the core to our success.
Eriksen as well.
Wow. Yeah. Kyle Walker, like insane.
Trippier to that.
Trippier. Then, if I remember correctly, about a year into Poch's tenure, maybe less, we ripped up that model, that recruitment model, And we went into this new phase, whatever this new model has been. And ever since then, we've signed over 50 players. Not many have really broken through and upgraded the first team. And that partly led to stagnation of Poch's squad, as did a year of no transfers, as did mid-table transfer budgets, etc., etc. But still, we were still finding a way of being competitive on a mid-table budget before. And we just completely we just blew it up the wall. And since the stadium's opened, it's like, I think there's been intent to bring in a Jose and a Conte and go after someone meaningful, but we've got it so wrong. We really have. I wish we'd continued that model that we had before with this conveyor belt of Erikssons and Vertongans and Dembélés and Alderweirelds. If we continue that churn of these younger, amazing, upcoming internationals, that squad would never have stagnated, and we'd probably be talking about this being our third trophy in 17 years.
I'll add to that because there's the one transfer that I always use. I think it was the Irish Hotspur. It was the Irish Hotspur that said this, and it just shows how bad the recruitment has gone. When we sold Kyle Walker to Manchester City, we got 50 million for him. All right, Trippier was there, and Trippier. I was a fan of Trippier. I loved him as a player. I thought he was brilliant. You had Trippier there, but when you have 50 million, you've lost a key member of that back line who have been brilliant for us. Probably our best right back in the Premier League, or definitely in the Premier League era.
Yeah.
We, rather than going and saying, right, we've got 50 million, let's go sort that position out. Trippier, you might be number one, or we're going to go above. We spent over £100 million to get Porro. So not only have we sold a huge profit for Walker, but replaced and lost a key part of that team. Mm-hmm. We spent over double trying to find the replacement for him with a lot of, Aurier. Spence, who was the third choice, who then became the fifth choice.
There was Matt Doherty in there.
Matt Doherty was, what's his name? Emerson. All of these. So even when we do have the money and go, right, let's go address this key area or position, buy cheap, buy X, Y, Z amount of times. And that has really hurt. You look at it, Vertonghen, I'd say, has only been replaced with Van de Ven now.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's taken decades to replace these guys.
This is exactly. Even when we've had the money for the players, we've just shot ourselves in the foot. Rather than, it's always quantity over quality.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like with the business side of the club, we have a really, like, the level of the planning is outstanding. And even I think on the football side, we plan on like a 5-year plan, but the transfers, it's always like a kind of panic. Who's available now? Our recruitment guy doesn't actually want to be here. He hates January transfer window. We've got to drag him into the office today. Like, where's the success? So we said from the start, the success of any football club is built upon consistently good recruitment and planning. And we are paying the price. This season we paid the price, particularly of several years of not having that plan. I think up until about 2023, the planning was not there in the transfer market. It's improved since 2023, I feel. Mm-hmm. And that's now going to take years for us. And we are years into that process, but another couple of seasons until I think we've truly fixed it. And I look at Liverpool and I go, they are the model for competing with clubs that are not run like we are. And showing you can still do it and not being a million miles ahead of Spurs in terms of revenue. They are in reputation, which makes it much easier for them because we couldn't get a Salah, to sign on with us in their shoes like they did and all that stuff. But they all get a Van Dijk like at the time they did. But they still have a way of getting the balance of 2 or 3 very good academy players, 3 or 4 really good young players breaking through, spending on 1 or 2 very good senior players every year to keep it topped up, and consistently doing that after year after year after year and getting them 9 out of 10 times right and just layering on top. Whereas I feel we've jerked all over the place. And
I know everyone looks back to the Alisson and Van Dijk signings they made because it was 75 million each, which was the Coutinho money. But you look at their squad now, it's full of just 35 to 50 million signings, which is obviously something we're more than capable of making. But they just very much get, like, McAllister was 40 million, 35 million.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like Luis Diaz was 45 million. Gakpo was about 40 million. Gravenberch was about that. Canate.
When we spend 40 million on Archie Gray, everyone's he's generational, blah, blah, blah. And I just sit there saying, we haven't seen him play yet. Do you know what frustrates me more than anything? And honestly, I think I almost got to breaking point last week, or even this week. I said it when I came on your show the other day, Sim. I've been so miserable supporting this club. I've despised it for 5 years. From where we were with Poch and what we became, it was the absolute cesspit of football being a Spurs fan. Beaten, battered, bruised, online, offline, at work, in the gym, everywhere you go, Tottenham. And it was just awful. The whole thing was awful. And, you know, all arguing every week on YouTube. And we win the Europa Cup. And I thought, you know what? I actually love my club again. I actually love my... And I was so happy, so proud. I've been wearing a Spurs shirt. I've been running riot over Arsenal fans. They haven't got a word to say to me because they've literally just done everything they criticised us for when we had Poch. But you win nothing. But you win not. They have literally become that, and we've won a trophy. It's been fantastic. I'm really looking forward to next season. And rather than the entire conversation amongst Spurs fans being right, what are we going to do in the transfer window? Ange has said he wants experienced players, and we are in a great opportunity to build from this. Daniel Levy puts out a statement. We've now got a taste for trophies. We must build from it. So I'm thinking, you know, coming back from Spain after Bilbao, thinking, right, I can't wait to see, are we finally going to change in the transfer window? And literally, I land back in the UK, and it's civil war on the manager. Ange in, Ange out, Frank in, Frank out. Get me Inzaghi. How? It was so frustrating to come back just 2 weeks of managers' arguments and debates when really the whole conversation should be, what are we going to do about the transfer window? And Jim explained it perfectly. If you go back to the last 2 years of Poch up until now, what on earth have we been witnessing? The conversation for me should be solely around, if it is Ange or if it is Frank or if it is Glasner or whoever, they will all fail unless we get a proper transfer window and start being consistent with it. That's where the whole conversation should be as Spurs fans, in my view, not about the manager.
Agreed.
The manager's irrelevant.
It should be about how we're going to spend the money and all this kind of stuff.